it's a very difficult thing to defend this government, because when you say, okay, Mr. President is doing something, so that will grow the economy. What is that specific thing that the president is doing that will make me say the economy is growing? Nothing. Nobody is mentioning anything. You say farming, fish, and what? Are we better in terms of rice production? Are we better in terms of maize? Are we self-sufficient in terms of food? Our farmers have left the farm because insecurity is on the increase. So what are we doing in terms of all of those ones? Nothing. So you also talked about first subsidy. Let's look at subsidy as a whole. Buhari said they only budgeted till June, but President came and from May yanked it off. The question now is, what were we doing? What were we doing that we're not doing well? Was there really subsidy? In Saudi Arabia, the cost of producing a barrel of crude, is certain $10. Do you know why, Sean? Because the pipelines are static, the pipelines are protected. As I speak to you now, Sean, Russia built pipelines from Russia to Europe to supply gas to Europe. They don't have Candis and militant to guide the pipelines. But when you use badges and then you also pay militants to guide your pipeline, it adds to the cost of production of your crude. So that's why the cost of producing crude in Nigeria is between $35 to $55 per barrel. That's production. We're talking about refining. So if you are refining, you're producing the crude at $35 to $55, and then you take it out to another country. The cost of freighting it out, and then the cost of freighting it back, cost of landing. You are also going to pay bridging costs. You pay all of that. At the end of the day, if you look at the cost of landing and the cost of what we are actually buying, you would see that government is actually deceiving itself, that this government pays subsidy one way or the other. But they tell you subsidy is gone. So because that's what you want to hear. And then subsidy is gone. Let us take it from that parameter that yes, we're wasting money. So as I speak, the same government that was wasting money is telling you that since they removed subsidy, they've had more money to share. So that means the money they were using to subsidize before for the entire Nigeria, they now give it to a few people. They give governors more money. And so the governors do whatever they like with it. We can no longer subsidize for the average Nigerian. Let them suffer, but let the governors have more money. And the governors have more money and they can afford to do whatever they like and nobody's holding them accountable. And the federal government says, no, don't look at us. Look at the governors. They're sharing palliative. The palliative that they're sharing, you don't even have the numbers of people that you're sharing palliative to. In December, they told us they gave bags of rice and nobody saw bags of rice. If not that some of the House of Rep members said government gave us bags of rice. Government didn't hold one person accountable. That's on one side also. Government took loan, $3.3 billion, paid $65 million at cost of transaction commission to somebody for arranging that loan to shore up the naira so that naira will not fall. So that loan, some of that money they used to pay debts that let's assume all these airlines and the rest, they used to pay some of this, and then we now say, oh yes, we've paid out our obligation. Now we are certain that the naira will appreciate. But unfortunately, the thing is going back now because we are still not producing enough. It is not fish that we are going to sell to encourage to show up our naira. We need to produce. We need to ensure that what is our capacity? Today, our manufacturers don't even have light. Everybody is running on generator. So I guess that where you are now in your studio, you are running on generator. So we don't even have electricity to produce. But you will say, okay, yes, we have policies to generate. We are generating, and there's policy in place that in no distance time we increase our generating capacity so that our manufacturers will be able to manufacture here. The cost of production will reduce, and so will not be import dependent. All of that is not in place. And now let's go to insecurity. The roads are bad, so we all fly now. So at the cost of flying, that's why I'm not in the studio. That's why I'm in Lagos. Thanks to Oyibo people that even made this easy to us, for us, that we can communicate unlike before. So the roads are bad. The roads are not good. Government is building new one. They are not renovating the existing one. And also, when you look at all of that, farmer insecurity is kidnapping. Now is a dormant business now. When people are kidnapped, the police is even helpless. So when all of that happens, we're not discussing Boko Haram again. Banditry has taken over. You know, militancy is a normal thing. So when that happens, people leave their farm. People who should be in the farm. I thank my friend there is still able to farm. A lot of people have left their farm. And so all of these persons are now depending on the rest of us who are salary earners for handouts. I know how many messages I receive a day show. I wish I could be like my friend who is APC member. It's not this only APC member that I joined this government. So when you put all of this together, and I consistently ask, what is that thing that Mr. President is doing that will give me the impression that, okay, yes, if this policy is in place, by next year, insecurity will go down. By next year, our capacity to produce refined product or our capacity to refine our crude oil will increase, and so we'll be depending on our refinery. As I talk to you, Dangote will not produce fuel in the near future because the FCC in the refinery is not working. Our refineries are not good. Nobody should deceive you. What they did was to use pipe gas to flare the refinery, and then they tell you this crude that you use to test run a refinery, and to tell you, yes, we will still be producing, but we don't have crude. In an oil producing country, your refinery don't have crude for your own local consumption. So when you put all of this together, and then somebody tells you the government is putting policy in place, and what is that policy? They said we have floated the naira. We have floated the naira. Recently, the government also was busted as saying, no, you didn't float the naira because you are still subsidizing the naira. Even though they denied it, the moment that came to the open, that was how naira started depreciating also. So Sean, there is really anything anybody can tell Nigerians. Right. Go to the street of Nigerians, there is no fuel, there's no diesel. Dangote, they told us Dangote was selling at 1,000 naira per liter. Sean, I never see Dangote diesel buy. Right. We are still buying at 1,300 naira per liter. There is no fuel, there's no diesel, there's no light.
Yeah.
There is no money in the pocket. Yeah. And then you're saying that the president said he was going to tax people. Do you tax hungry people? How are we cutting costs as the government cut costs? Instead, the government has made more money by removing subsidy. They are making more money. But is the more money that government is making reflecting in the lives of people? Rather, the government is not a listening government. Let's not deceive ourselves. What the government is doing is what you call, your people call it jeyoje. If this one will enter, this one will enter. So you introduce a policy, say let us test run. And then people come and like, this policy, did you think it through? No, this can work, this can work. They say, hey, okay, please, Sheleam, draw it back. Let us see. They bring another one again. And people say, no, this will work, this will work. Quietly, that was how they gave 90 billion for Hajj. Nobody's talking about that. A country where people can barely eat. So it is not a listening government, but it's a government that is not thinking its policy through. The same way they didn't think the subsidy issue through. If you think a policy through, there are medium-term, there are short-term implementation, medium-term implementation, and long-term implementation. All of that, once you roll them out, you already know what you're going to achieve. Because you also would have done what they call sampling opinion sampling. But government doesn't do that. They just sit down and take some policies from Bretton Woods, from World Bank, forgetting that this World Bank economics only know the hotels in Abuja, Port Harcourt, and Lagos. They do not understand the poverty that dots the villages in our community. They come, they sit down in the hotels, they tell you, no, you can no longer do subsidy, you can no longer, but in their country, they are subsidizing agriculture. They are subsidizing food heavily for the people.